And we are, in fact, back with the final part of this week's episode, something or other, was name thingamabob of the Long Voyage. And, yeah, that's what it's going to be from now on because I can't keep track. Um, and
Just assign one of us to do it for you, and we'll say it.
no, never! And I shall be doing the, we shall be going through a rather bloody and horrible divination now. But what happens is that as you open him up, obviously, you don't so much read in the intestines as in the major organs. So by making specific incisions in these organs, you are able to get answers to these specific questions. But because it is infused with magic, and in this case, a fuck ton of magic, because the man literally died moments ago, his essence hasn't left him yet. There is more magic in this than in anything you have ever done. And you make an incision into his heart and ask what will happen and where you need to go after the capital.
Yes.
And your senses are flooded. It's you have this sensation of being rushed through 100 places in the span of 2 breaths. It's like watching something in ultra fast forward. It is shocking to say the least. It's frightening even, and it's frightening and it's confusing. Because again, you've never experienced anything that's even remotely comparable to this, and the what you see is first and foremost is of course a city. You see a city you've never been in. You probably have to assume, or you do assume in this case, because I'm telling you that because this is what is going through your mind is this has to be the capital. You notice that it's a large city. It's a very large city. You've never seen anything like it, and a lot of the houses have copper roofs, and they of course go green. They go emerald green with time.
Oh, it must look so pretty.
And that might explain the name of the place. So that makes sense to you. But you're standing there, and there are people around you, everywhere around you, and you have this feeling of things happening so fast around you that you're not even sure what is. You're not sure what is happening until at some point you see you see the gates. You move through the city. You get to the city gates, or some of the city gates. There are several. It opens, and in rides not even an army, but a large group of soldiers. They're not charging in. It's not an attack. It's more like a procession or a parade. And in that procession is one man in particular that stands out, and you have no doubt who this man is. You realize when you see it, this is Liam. He is a physically impressive specimen. He's large. He's broad-shouldered. He's physically very, very strong. There's no question he could probably break any of you guys back pretty effortlessly. He's not, he's probably about the size of an average Southlander in height. So he's for someone who lives in these parts, he's enormous. And he's got red hair with slightly unruly, to put it mildly. He's got a rather bushy beard, also obviously fiery red. He looks jovial, despite his physically impressive stature. He looks jovial and gregarious, and he's waving to people, and they're cheering him, and so on. And he rides further into the city, and it seems like he's being heralded. You're pretty sure this hasn't happened yet. This is something that will happen in the future, but you're not sure when. And there's another fast forward of things, or maybe it's a rewind. You're not sure, because it's everything moves so swiftly, and you see the city on fire. It's burning wildly, and people are running for their lives. And yet again, you have this experience of watching people's homes burn, people themselves burn. You see a few Southlanders in the street. You're not sure who they are. You can't tell. It might be you guys. You see one that you're pretty sure is a female. So it could be you, but you don't know. You also see, again, something happening. You turn and you look up at there are two hills inside the walls of the city. There are two, not castles is the wrong thing to say, but one of them is a very large structure it's a walled structure in itself, primarily made up of a castle within it, and it's a fortified position. The other one is smaller, but looks more modern and looks more like a stately home, so to say. You see, you're not sure why you're looking at it, but you know that they're very significant for whatever reason. You have a strong sense of magic from the castle. And you see, a moment after that, you see a flock of ravens flying into, they're coming straight at you. They're coming literally straight in your face. Claws outstretched, wings out. They're huge birds. And then they sort of, just at the very last moment, just as you realize, oh shit, they're going to take my eyes out, they just poof, not that they vanish, but they're almost pushed aside. They explode out to the sides, almost, and there's just one raven coming straight at you, and it's bright red, directly at you. And then you go like, you snap out of it, and you realize that you're on a ship, and it's the Fagerfeld. You're back on the Fagerfeld. You can see your friends are there. You can see Ormer. You can see Grani. You can see all these different people. You're hauling on the oars. The weather is atrocious. It's horrible weather. The mast has been taken down. You can see that the sail is lying along the middle of the ship. It's been torn pretty badly. But you're all hauling on the oars to get through this storm as fast as possible. People look frightened. It's pretty clear that this is serious enough that you could actually capsize and sink. And there's a huge misty. There's a bank of fog which seems to be following you, even in this squall, this rain, this horrible storm, and the fog is still coming over the waves, falling down over the waves and trying to follow you. You've never seen that before. It's completely unnatural, and you even while you're standing there looking at it, you can feel your breath catch in your throat from terror, because that looks legitimately fucking frightening. And you have a very clear sense that if that fog catches you, you are in so much trouble. You wouldn't even know how to verbalize it. And finally, you have you get a sense of going ashore somewhere which is so hot that most of the crew, they're sweating buckets and they're all taking off their armor because it's just too fucking hot to wear metal. There's a lot of sand there. That's about all you see. And then you're thrown back out, and you're short of breath. You have blood up to your elbows. You are nauseous. The feeling of fear is still in you. It's pretty severe. And as you pull your hands out of his innards basically, you realize that you have soot on the palms of your hands and under your fingernails. And that's it.
I think for a while he stares at his hands, and then he looks at the mess.
Mm-hmm.
And I think without thinking about it, he puts a hand to his
Through his
mouth.
mouth, yeah. Which
Um,
obviously leaves a rather nasty impression. Yeah, exactly.
Why the hell did you put that in your mouth?
No, not in his mouth, but he puts a hand up to his mouth, so half covering his mouth.
Oh, I heard this, and then I stuffed my fingers in my mouth, and
No,
I was
no.
like, ew!
It's still
You're
ew.
nasty!
It's still ew, but yeah.
and then let's see, Southlanders. We didn't have a written language, did we? Or did we have runes?
You have runes, but it's only used for very brief messages, and you can't write long diatribes in it really.
In that case, I think
It should be said, but hold that thought because it's quite important to let Sindri know of this.
Oh,
of course.
of course.
Sindri, you've stood there watching him do this. You've been unable to get through to him for the better part of, they don't use hours and minutes and so on, but you would guess that you've probably gotten close to 1,000 breaths while looking at him. It's been a long time.
That's probably an instance where Sindri actually snaps his fingers in front of
Yeah.
Freddy's eyes and gets no response at some point.
No response whatsoever. He has been completely gone in this.
I imagine that his eyes are darting back and forth as if he's seeing things.
Yeah, that is true. It looks like he is reacting to seeing things.
I mean, yeah.
But not you.
Yeah.
No, obviously not. It's one of those things. In my mind, almost what's happening is that it could be. It's like when you're going into REM sleep and your eyes moved up from side to side, but when your eyes are open, it's very creepy.
Exactly. His eyes are open, so it's what the hell?
Yes. So eventually, I think Sindri will be only the third or fourth thing that Froley notices after getting his bearings and getting blood on his face.
Yes, I imagine he takes quite a few deep breaths.
Yep.
As if out of breath.
Yeah.
And then Sindri will say, "Do you really need to breathe that stuff in? You've got blood on your face now, man."
Yeah, and you can't see the soot, by the way, Sindri. It's only him that can see the soot. But you can definitely see the blood.
Yes.
That was unlike anything I've ever...
Yeah, you probably have a pretty serious gag right around then.
Yes. Is the man's eyes, were they closed or are they open?
They're open.
In that case, I think Thrody goes and closes them.
Yeah.
And then, as best as he can with the limited medium, writes a few runes on the man's forehead, spelling out peace.
Oh, right.
And then he says, "Thank you. I hope you rest in peace."
Yeah. He is definitely gone, so he's not hearing it, but yeah.
And then I think he goes to hurl out his previously eaten food somewhere.
Oh, for goodness sake. I love that that'll be the first thing on his mind. For some reason, he's attracted to bad grammar, and then all the blood and the dead body. It doesn't matter. It's like this is spelt wrong,
Yes.
and then notices the blood and the corpse. Okay, Sindri will see if he can find a bit of cloth that he can lend Frody to use, because it might be an instinct to just wipe it on your tunic, but you shouldn't do that, because if we meet up in a civilized city and see, oh, you've got blood on your tunic. Well, funny you should say that.
Right now, he's also got blood on his face.
Yeah, that's the same. Blood on the face, blood on hands. See if we can get as much of that off as possible.
Yeah. Is there a creek or something nearby, perhaps?
Yes, you can find water.
I think while doing so,
And you also have a water skin, if nothing else. So.
Of course, Thrody will quite disjointedly try to tell Sindri what he saw.
Okay, and Sindri, for his part, listens.
It's not easy to understand. It's very much jumbled.
Sindri, yeah, he does his best to be patient with it, considering that he knows this Frolaker stuff is a bit beyond him, all considered, but he does sort of try and make what he at least listens, even if he doesn't all understand all of it.
That's
and then
nice.
yes, and then sort of occasionally comment on something see if he can get you to elaborate on it if you can. And probably won't be able to much, but
We'll try.
It's like all reading it's a matter of interpretation, and
Yes.
that was more intense than anything you've ever had to interpret before. So
I imagine also, and you'll have to tell me, Joan, but I imagine he seems distracted, as if hearing stuff
yeah,
at times.
God,
yes,
not him as well.
Ugh.
Okay, yes. Pete, when player characters start hearing things, we know this from personal experience. That's bad.
yes, yes. On a strange.
No, it's good if you're Medea.
No.
Not
Yeah,
really.
it's really good if you're her.
So
At least
Anyway.
that's what she kept telling herself.
Well, all right. So, the one thing that stands out to me, probably, is that if we do go to the Emerald City, with a good chance that we might see Liam there. There might be fighting, and more things will be set on fire. Why do we seem to be unable to avoid things being on fire?
I think that's a function of having me in the group. I don't know if we'll see Liam. It was a parade, a celebration.
And you said something about
So I imagine he would have to win some victory first.
something, and you mentioned it was definitely a red raven you saw.
Yes. I can still see it from my eye. Yeah. It was, well, red like blood, I suppose.
Right.
He says
okay.
and looks at the very red water.
Mm-hmm. Does it form a particularly raven-shaped thing in the water?
no, it's not that obvious.
No. Besides, even if it was, Sindri wouldn't see it because he's not magical.
Exactly. However, you have let me just see here.
Oh, that's actually something I should probably roll for. Because I have the what was it we decided? I know a little bit about the Hafensaga.
Yes.
And specifically something about the Red Raven might be
Indeed.
Something I know. Was it occultism I should roll?
Yes.
Of course, there's the whole business of
Hey,
look at that! This is occultism in capital letters.
Yes. Da 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 da.
All of my skills are in capital letters.
Because they're
You do know that the Red Raven is a symbol of something of absolutely unspeakable power. but no one in the Southlands, as of yet, apparently knows what this raven is. All you know is that the speculation is that the Raven Lady, as you call her, obviously, as she's called in the Southlands, is, well, all ravens are hers.
So this is a power that should rightly be hers.
It's a power that should rightly be hers, and that should rightly be on the side of the Southlanders.
Yes.
But whenever it has been seen, whenever it has been described by seers,
My grandmother.
yes, such as your grandmother, it has always been described as something absolutely terrifying and threatening, something that represents a very real threat to the Southlands.
I think that fits very well with my impression.
Yeah.
But I saw it in the Emerald City. That might be worth noting. He says, and I don't think there's any context to it.
No.
Yeah, Sundry won't understand because he doesn't know anything about the Raven saga apart from what that it exists.
Well, and probably heard a few of the more common tales,
Yeah.
but probably very little when it comes. The Raven saga can be seen in several ways. It contains a lot of foretelling and prophecy, but at some point prophecy stops being prophecy when it has happened, and then it becomes part of legend.
Mm-hmm.
And the legends are told, around the Southlands as stories
Yes.
in around campfires and so on. But you probably know next to nothing of all the prophecy stuff.
It's a case of what do I know about the Raven saga? We might win. Huzzah!
Yes.
That sort of thing. Okay, but all Sindri, rather than reacting with understandable awe and fear at the mention of the Red Raven, will basically say, "Well, at least we should let Bargy know that you have seen his elusive bird."
Oh, yes, he mentioned that. I think we should be on the lookout for ravens in general. I would like to talk to one of them.
Question is, will one of them want to talk with you?
Probably not. I mean, what are the chances that she will be looking?
Considering that she's visited. At this point, I think Sindri knows that the Raven Lady has. Considering that she's visited all of us at least once, we might yet be able to get her attention again.
Yes, if only there was a way we could let her know that we want her attention.
Hmm.
I don't imagine, roasting a raven would be a good idea.
You should know as well as I do to harm or kill a raven, particularly in the Southlands, holds the punishment of death. The Raven Lady does not take kindly to her eyes and ears being sabotaged.
I can get behind that.
Anyway, I think we are done here. Let's return to the others before they wonder what's happened to us.
Have we been gone for a while?
Yeah, well, 1,000 breaths is quite a time. I mean, even without, all the time between that when we got there.
Oh, that is a while.
I imagine, say, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour we've been gone. In our character, obviously, because there's no such thing as minutes and hours in this setting.
Right, we should get back.
So we go back.
Yes.
We go back!
And then there's
Yes,
sort
we
of,
do.
and there's that sort of Batman. And Frothy and Sindri's faces zooming in and out with spinning thing in the background.
Yes. And you get back to the others, and what do you do then when you do get? I mean, the others have basically been walking along, it's a matter of whether they have been talking about anything. We can ask. Have the rest of you been doing anything interesting while these two ne'er-do-well rascals have been out gallivanting around and having all the fun all by themselves?
I think Baggy would tell tall tales.
Yes.
And unless anyone objects, I think Sindri and Frode will turn to Baggy saying, and then I asked him, so you think you have the biggest schlong, hey? Yes. In typical Baggy fashion.
I was about to ask what tall tale you were telling, but you answered that yourself.
I'm not sure.
I just think Ilva's only comment to that is, I really don't want to know the size of your slong.
No, I'm not gonna show you, but he asked, or he said he had the biggest.
She looks very tired.
I see your.
Are you tired, Silva? You look tired.
Hey,
hey
that
there,
raven.
Sindri.
Hey, that raven. What color is that? She points at a raven.
Where?
There, right there. Run! It's right there. Oh no! It's running
I'm not
out.
seeing any raven. Where's the
Right
raven?
there. She
I
points.
see.
It flew that way. Catch it.
I don't believe you, Hilda. I think you're just trying to get rid of me.
Yep. Not working.
I see.
Sorry.
I see that you have been back at the tall tales, Buggy. Although considering the subject matter, is it now one of your flaccid tales?
No, it's just one of the long ones.
Hard. Yes, long one. I get what you mean, Hilda.
Well, aside from
Don't
me,
stroke his ego, Ilva.
You can stroke my,
Oh God, you went there.
Sindri just.
Frothy, do you want me to drown you?
I have not. No, I think before you do, it might be worth us telling you what we've found and done, sort of thing.
Yes.
What have you done now?
Well, we put a poor soul out of its agony and misery, and in doing so, gained some information.
So you went and fought without us then?
No, there was no fighting. Believe me, this death had no glory to it, but it was a kindness, at any rate.
These druids need to be... Well, I can think of many nasty things I would do to them. And they are quite good at providing me with examples.
Do all of them end in their deaths?
We found a young man strapped to an altar on a hill just up that way. His manhood removed.
Ugh.
The wound having been burned.
Cauterized, but it was infecting. He was dying. I tried to end his life as painlessly as possible, and Gylfi took the opportunity to.
Gylfi did.
Not Gylfi, Frothy, sorry. God damn it, Chris! I know it's late, but you've got to think about the names when you're role playing, haven't you? Yes, you do. Be quiet now. Frothy took the opportunity to scry using the recently deceased's innards and gained some very interesting information.
It is more precise, I suppose, in some ways.
He claims to have seen your red raven, Buggy.
At this, Baggy gets up all excited and looks at further. Where is it?
Well, in my vision, it was in the Emerald City.
In what?
In the Emerald City.
Ah. Well, let's go then.
Headed there.
What are we waiting for? What are we sitting around here for? Or dilly-dallying, telling tall tales about schlongs and whatnot?
You insisted.
Well, that was before I knew there was a raven in the Emerald City.
There might be. There might also not be yet.
What are your visions for if it's just might not?
Look, that's the nature of visions. I also saw Liam riding in, being celebrated as if he had won some big victory.
Fuck.
Hopefully, with our presence here, that is not the future that will come to happen.
Maybe it's something that has happened? Do we know if he already has taken The big city.
You know that it is, strictly speaking, within his lands. You also know that it is, strictly speaking, seen as neutral ground. That was told to you already, so yeah. But it is, purely geographically, it is within his controlled area.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
This is-
basically what it means is that the chance of any other sword, riding through the front gates is just about... I'd probably give a snowball a greater chance of surviving a close encounter with the Master of Fire.
yes.
Yeah, well,
I mean-
if it's the future, then it could be the big fight against Liam that he's celebrated for. But if it's the past, it could be, I've taken this area.
I mean,
We don't really know.
this again. This has probably been answered a few times already, but this time period is set before the time in Tirglas where we have Ares. Is it? Or...
No, there is an RE.
Oh my goodness, we are that far ahead. And is he seated in CharismaToAC?
Yes, yes.
Excellent. We'll go talk to him then. I'm sure he'll be
that's a
happy
big
to just...
fat Sorry, that's a big fat lie. There isn't an RE, there's a RE. But he is the
Yes.
most powerful of them. There are still several, Rees or kings around.
Yes.
Around Tirglas, but he is
Maybe.
definitely the strongest of the lot.
Yes. Maybe we should help him become an RE. That would be nice. But no, Sindri is basically looks at everyone else talking about this and says, if we are going to head there, can we at least get some more sleep? I'd like to be well rested before we reach. And then he pauses and says, in very bad attempt at emulating the Tirglasian, because he's not very good with it. Maragi daggy thing.
Smaragdaggy, I like that.
Oh, that's what it's called. CharismaToAC.
Yes.
That's good.
It is now.
Oh, that's
Mhm.
good.
And Sindri then basically gets ready to go back to sleep because he's done his bit. He's done patrolling. He's helped kill someone, and he's tired and
Yes.
Grumpy and all that.
Yes.
no more than usual.
I
Alright.
think if we're resting, do we make a fire?
No.
No, we don't.
No.
Alright, in that case, I think Frodi will occupy himself playing games with whoever wants to play with him.
Elva can take a round.
Bag is up for it.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like he's in much mood to go to sleep.
Why not?
There's a lot to work through. It was quite a vision.
Yeah, I've seen you train it, and that was only training. Holy crap.
The bones are less assaulting.
Less insulting?
Assaulting.
Oh. Yeah.
So we need to arrest and book visions for causing actual bodily harm. Case.
Yes.
Okay. We'll get some cops on that as soon as possible.
So
So that's
basically,
Frofro.
you get some more. You
For
get a bit of rest, and then you
Yes.
continue on towards the
city.
the city. And the thing is that over the next 4 days, the most interesting thing that happens is that let's see, there are 5 of you. So let's roll 1d5, shall we?
Yay! For what though?
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Yay.
Okay, that means the most interesting thing that happens over the next 4 days is that Gulfi gets stung by a wasp. That is the most interesting thing to happen over 4 days.
No! No!
Well, at least it stung the one person who's got the means to deal with that.
Yeah, so basically...
I think Ilva looks at him. At least now we know you're not allergic to it.
Gulfi just dies on the spot.
No, you can easily, you find some useful moss and boil it, which stinks up a storm. but you apply that as a sort of poultice, and hey, lo and behold, it works, and suddenly it doesn't hurt as bad, and it draws out the poison. So yay!
Lo and behold, you're not incompetent.
We already knew he wasn't that. So you end up, after another 4 days, looking at the city. And the city walls are, to put it very, very mildly, they are very, very, very impressive. You've never in your lives seen anything even close to it. You thought Herborg was powerful. Feast your eyes on this.
That looks impenetrable.
What is that?
That is a view of what part of the city wall would look like at CharismaToAC. And you have, you lived in one of the strongest fortresses in the Southlands, probably the strongest with the exception of Vananes. And Herborg was located on a hill. It had, limited access. It had, powerful, a very, a tall earthen embankment. It had, oak on top of that, which was, dense and hard to burn and whitewashed and all of that. So it was very well defended. And when you look at this, which is a stone-built wall, and it's just, many paces high and thick towers, there's no comparison. There's no contest.
Nope.
There's a lot of scratching or something in the background there, and
Sorry.
somebody's chewing.
I'm not chewing.
So there
But
we
I
go.
were wrestling with something.
Sure. But this is what the sort of thing that you see when you get there.
It is beyond anything I've ever seen.
Ilva hits up a white grin. I don't see why they call this as the Emerald City.
Well, quite apart from the fact that that isn't possible on this picture, obviously, but the roofs are in fact.
She's colorblind.
She's colorblind.
Ah, right. Well, the rest of you can see it. There are some tile roofs, but a lot of them are
Thrody looks to her and says, "The roofs are made of, or was it copper?
Yeah, copper.
Copper tiles. They turn green with age."
No, I don't see it. She clearly chuckles.
Does Frody know this thing about Ilva, do you think?
Yeah, he were probably there when she hurt herself like that. Well, not on purpose, obviously, but yeah.
Well,
I'm pretty sure.
expect
I'm pretty sure that both Gylfi, Frodi, and Sindri knows that she woke up in a complete panic because she couldn't see color anymore.
I think he smiles at her and says, "Well, it's really quite pretty."
I imagine so. And then there's this sadness that just goes over her eyes.
Well,
It's just-
you
yeah.
are moving towards the gate, which is in one of the one of the towers, like so. And there's a gate leading into the city.
It occurs to me, what are we going to say to the people at the gate?
That we want to go inside.
There are quite a few people going in and out, it should be said.
Some people aren't necessarily stopped.
No, why should they stop
There
us?
are guards, you can tell. There are guards.
I mean, yeah. They might notice us, they might stop us, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Well,
and if
it's
they do,
also supposedly very neutral.
Supposedly.
I doubt this is the first time they've seen Southlanders before.
It is often said that if you look like you belong, people are less likely to
Yes.
question you.
Exactly. We walk in like we own the fucking place. That should work.
Fine.
Well, you walk up to the gates, and a couple of the guards out on here. If you look at this side of the bridge, there are a couple of guards standing there. They just like, holy whoa. It's got to be a nice view from all the way up there, and they just they just let you walk past because ain't no flipping way these two guys are going to stop all of you.
What's the old joke? What's the weather like up there? Yes, because of course there's a massive difference in temperature this far up. You toothless buffoon.
But when you get to the main gates, you are stopped.
Okay.
Because you're fairly heavily armed, and you're massive compared to the locals. So they basically do stop you. There's a man who looks like he's probably late 40s, graying hair, very 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 impressive mustache. It basically looks like a ferret crawled onto his upper lip and died.
Ew.
And
Might be an idea to tell them we're here to buy shit because we have a lot of money.
Yeah, that's the plan.
he looks up at you and rather, he's not unimpressed, clearly, but he's also a man who knows that he's in a position of a small amount of authority, and he is bloody determined to exert it. So he looks at you and like, halt, who goes there?
Why are we being stopped?
Because you are not local, you're very heavily armed, and you're big enough and strong enough from the looks of it to create an awful lot of trouble.
Right, so my plan, my good man, is to walk inside these massive walls and start trouble? Are you daft?
No.
I'm here to spend some money.
Ah, now you're talking. Well, I can let you in, but at least now I have told you to not make trouble. And if you do make trouble, I'm sure somebody will try and stop you. He says with this look of, it's not gonna be me.
Right.
He steps aside and lets you in.
Well, then Baggy starts moving again.
My God, someone.
Follow the buggy.
What did
What?
you say, Rasmus?
I shall follow the buggy.
Ilva understands very little of it, so she just, puts on a kind of large smile when he says, well, then I'm sure someone will stop you. With a, yep.
He lets you in, and you move into the city itself, and it's there again. It's completely unlike anything any of you have ever seen before. Imagine, most of us have seen at least, pictures of Viking longhouses and that sort of, that's the kind of building you would be used to seeing in the Southlands. Whereas here, they're stone-built houses. Some of them, not many, but some of them are in more than one floor. There are the actual walls of the place that are just mind-boggling. And there are these two hills inside the city walls. It's a big enough city that there are two hills inside the city walls that are basically set aside for one building each. You realize that there could be as many as 50,000 people living here.
Well, they weren't kidding when they said the amount of people who lived here.
I think, and this is just my personal theory, these people are compensating for something. If you catch my drift.
Brilliant.
Well, have you seen how tall they are? They are compensating.
Sindri looks at Bargy for a long time and says, well, you would know, wouldn't you?
What's that supposed to mean?
If
Ada, would you stop sniggering all the time?
And then
Ah,
I
that
also
was a
think
good
that-
one, Sindri.
Yes, Sindri, with a tiny, tiny smile, because he can occasionally do that. Also looks around at all the buildings a little wide-eyed. Admittedly, even he can be surprised by things. And looks over at Frody and says, "And not 4 days ago, we were thinking them as barbaric. I mean, some of them are, but if this is barbarism, then I think we need to embrace it."
Well, you can forego bathing if you want. Just don't stand near me.
Maybe not that bit, but certainly the bit where we build wonders like this.
Are you impressed with them?
I don't know. It kind of makes me miss my home.
One of the things you realize pretty quickly is while the place is stone built, they're also using an obscene amount of lumber and wood. If you look at the picture at the top of the walls, that's all wood covered. And I mean, the number of ships you could have built from the wood that they are using for that sort of thing around here alone is silly.
What you're saying is that we should be thinking of it as a wicked waste.
Some of this is no. I mean, the walls are clearly incredibly defensible. There's no question there. They're massively powerful things. But at the same time, you also realize that building something like this in the Southlands just wouldn't be an option because there isn't enough lumber.
The thing is, they have huge forests they can take from, so they don't really miss them for anything else. But we need most lumber to make the ships.
Precisely.
Otherwise, we can't do what we do best. So yeah. Big Ilva just lifts her eyebrows with a holy crap.
Baggy stops one of the locals nearby.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's a young woman.
Excuse me, ma'am.
She looks up at you, and then she looks all the way down, and then all the way back up again.
Could you point me in the direction of the nearest meat house?
Yes, certainly. They have good beer over there.
Didn't we have a specific one we wanted to go to?
Drunken Stag.
Oh, sorry, ma'am. Could you point me in the direction of the Drunken Stag?
I don't know that one, but I know a Wounded Stag.
A Wounded Stag.
Sorry.
Even better.
Yeah, she says, that's down this road until you get to... there's a market where they sell livestock.
Right.
And then you turn... There are 4 main roads, and if you turn right when you're coming from this direction, you turn right onto the next of the main roads.
Mm-hmm.
And then you follow that for a little while, and you will see a whitewashed building with red timbers. That's the one.
Whitewashed red timbers.
Yes.
Turn right when we come to the 4 main roads.
Yes.
Near the market. Yes. All right. Thank you.
No problem. Wow. Where are you from?
The Southlands.
Oh.
Don't worry. We're not here to burn anything.
Are you all that? Wow. She looks completely taken aback. It's clearly the first time she's ever seen a Southlander.
Yes, we're all that tall.
Ilva is also scratching her head looking at this tiny woman with a, oh my god, she's tiny!
And so, with guys moving
with
through...
With a slightly racist thought, now I know why they don't fight. They're frail as hell.
And as you guys move through the city and come upon this building by following the directions, you come upon a whitewashed building with red painted timberworks. I think we shall stop there until next time, with you looking at the inn.
Mm-hmm.
Is that?
That means next time we get to start the session in the typical fashion of all role-playing adventures everywhere.
You are sitting at an inn.
So what we need to do is that now needs to be the new session 1 of the Long Voyage, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, that was just all prologue, really.
Yep.
Yes. Session one of the even longer voyage.
Oh, good grief! All right,
No,
you guys.
first it was session 1 of the Long Voyage. Now it's session 1 of the unending voyage.
Yeah.
That is good, actually. Yeah.
You get 3 XP for tonight.
Cool.
What did
And,
we loot from the guys?
We'll take a look at what you have in the loot bags next time when you're sitting in a place where you have time to open them, shall we?
Yes.
We got 3, so we gotten 35 in all
Yes.
so far.
So
I'm nicely keeping track of that.
Yeah. And
Very good of you, thank you.
I think on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we shall wish you all a very pleasant time until next time here on CharismaToAC with more of the Long Voyage in a week. So yeah, until next time, bye.
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 Bye!
Little bit.